Missile to the Silk Road. Blood pressure is rising. As I underlined yesterday, Iran, which remained silent for a long time, has been active in the last few days. They hit Syria, northern Iraq and Pakistan. So what was happening? Was there a side of the attacks facing us? Where would the USA fall? Where would the UK fall? Where would China fall? Who was stepping on whose feet? Will tensions escalate and get out of control? There are many such questions. Let's go over the table so we can understand. Let's go back to last August. Let's look at the Silk Road immediately. Gwadar Port is of vital importance for the Silk Road for China. Last August, a convoy containing Chinese people was attacked while returning from Gwadar Airport to the port area. A bomb placed on the roadside also exploded in the attack. China stood up. He told Pakistan to find the responsible. This was perhaps the most important warning given to China on the Silk Road. Time has passed. Iran, which is behind Hamas, has been silent for weeks. Now it has started to rain down missiles on points that will include Pakistan. Northern Iraq and Syria were understandable. Tension was high. Where did Pakistan come from? Let's open it. As I underlined yesterday, the tension in the Middle East had to begin its journey to Asia. It was strategically late. Iran came on the scene. It targeted the militant group Jaish al-Adl. Pakistan found the attack unacceptable. Right. Iran, on the other hand, claimed that the Sunni militant group Jaish al-Adl, operating on the border with Pakistan, was supported by the USA and Israel. So the ground was ready. The information coming from the deep centers was confusing. A deep structure in Iran was secretly feeding these organizations and wanted to end the Silk Road. The area was opened with missiles. The aim was not to make the organization comfortable. Pakistan was also conveying this to Iran. This was another dimension of the matter. Some of the missiles fired by Iran were 40 kilometers away from Gwadar Port. It was falling nearby. The events here should have been read through the Silk Road and Gwadar Port. In addition to Pakistan's strategic closeness with the USA, it was also necessary to keep in mind that the structure of the core state within Iran was not far from Washington. Iran was very close to England and therefore to China. Okay. However, the recent gestures made by the USA to change the route were also obvious. Iran, which was not in the headlines after the Hamas attack, would be talked about a lot in the coming days. Continue. Recently, agencies have begun to report that a handful of people earn more than billions of people. It's like they're just hearing about it. Years ago, I think in 2016, Jacob Rothschild, one of the most important members of the Rothschild family, met at Waddesdon Manor with 14 barons, who were not seen in Forbes, but were actually the real owner of the money. One of the meeting notes stated that 7 billion people work for 39 people. Nearly 30 of them were in contact with Rothschild in one way or another. This Ekwell, for example, was also the owner of Tinto, which is not well known in our country. This is not reported in newspapers or on television. Most journalists don't know or care. Rio Tinto, the world's mining giant and working for China, was founded in 1873 by the Jardine Matheson Company. Matheson was the family that settled in Izmir. The opium trade between China and these lands was being questioned from them. Many mansions in Izmir are the result of this money. Russell and Perkins companies were also active in the AFYON business. He was a great actor. They got into trouble. The three of them united and faced Rothschild. Merger was achieved. Rothschild was the boss. J.P. Morgan was also in action. AFYON trade was so profitable that the bank would come after it. This is how HSBC came to life. Then it became a global giant. In organizations such as Mont Pelerin or organizations such as Bilderberg, Chatham House and CFR, the trail always led to Rio Tinto. Even though not everyone can see it. When you open the door of Rio Tinto, you will clearly see Buckingham Palace in front of you. This is different too. You would also see that players like Aluminum Corporation of China Limited, the Vanguard Group, Inc., BlackRock Investment Management, Norges Bank Investment, Capital Research and Management, Wellington Management Company, Schroeder Investment Management are also shares. Where? In Rio Tinto. Rothschild Co., Imperial Chemical Industries, Royal Dutch Shell, British Petroleum, HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank Corporation, Kennecott Holding, J.P. Morgan, Anglo-American Corporation, Billiton/BHP and many other global players would unite on the same depositant. The situation was also interesting when you looked at the mining companies at the top of the world. Glencore United Kingdom, BHP Australia Rio Tinto, United Kingdom Shenhua China, British American PLC United Kingdom stood out. It was decided here how the world's raw materials would be managed and to whom and how much. For example, Rio Tinto was everywhere, from diamond to gold, from aluminum to iron, from copper to titanium. 60% of what it produced would go to China. In other words, the area ruled by the British was entirely designed for the growth of China. China's raw materials came from England, and what China earned from trade was flowing into the US bond market. Even though the two major empires, namely the USA and England, made an agreement on China and continued like this for a long time, this was now a blocked path. The Silk Road was also intended to exclude the USA completely and bring back the sun that never set in London. The City of London already had enough knowledge and experience to build any road for money. Because the subject is China, because England wants to take back the empire, Hamas is attacking, Israel is responding, committing massacres, the Kurdish card is brought to the table, Barzani comes to the fore, Iran is launching missiles left and right, the Red Sea is getting involved and events are growing, all the way to Gwadar port was coming. This is exactly why the presidential elections in the USA were turning into the most important election in history. I wrote it thousands of times. There is no country that this fight will not affect or include. I can't be. For this reason, I look at the PKK attack, Hamas and Israel through the lens of the Great Fight. I think the course of events and the results are clear. The Turkish state should read the game well and support the winner and save 100 years. That's why politics is done. On seeing, understanding and winning. The wolf spends the winter, but does not forget the frost he ate. While the Turkish state runs towards tomorrow, it notes what happened yesterday and today. He continues on his way. This is exactly the truth.